It is Preakness weekend in Baltimore. They'll send 9 horses to the post Saturday in the 150th running of the Preakness Stakes, but we will not see the Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty. They've decided to skip the Preakness and focus on the Belmont next month instead. It's not the first time this has happened because we've seen it before, most recently in 2022 when Rich Strike won the Derby as an 80-1 long shot. He then skipped the Preakness and wound up finishing 6th in that 8-horse field at the Belmont. So no Sovereignty, but horse racing still will continue this weekend. And now let's welcome in SportsLine handicapper Gene Menez for more on this weekend's action. And I'm not going to lie, Gene, it was disappointing when I first saw the news that we would not see Sovereignty in this race this weekend. So no Triple Crown again this year. But take us through the decision to skip out on the Preakness for Sovereignty.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really disappointed, too, that we're not going to see the Derby winner in the Preakness. Listen, Godolphin has been a champion of the sport of horse racing for years. They don't skip races. So this is a really strange decision. Trainer Bill Mott, I understand that modern horses today are not trained to run back in 2 weeks. And so there must be something that has to be done about the Triple Crown, right? We're still working with a system that was designed 100 years ago when horses would run every 4 to 5 days. That is not the case anymore. And so horses are routinely skipping the Preakness Stakes and pointing to the Belmont. Something has to be done. I don't know necessarily what that is. Some people have suggested extending the Triple Crown over a course of, let's say, 2 months so that the Preakness is 4 weeks after the Derby and the Belmont is 4 weeks after the Preakness. But I'm not sure that the American public has the attention span to watch horse racing over that amount of time. Imagine if the Major League Baseball playoffs went over 9 weeks instead of 4. Maybe it's increasing the purse for the Preakness Stakes. Right now, the purse for the Preakness is $2 million. What if you bumped it up to $7 million? $7 million is the purse of the Breeders' Cup Classic, and the Kentucky Derby is $5 million. I wonder then if trainers and owners would decide to run back in the Preakness for a prize like that. It's disappointing to me also because after Sovereignty was shipped to Saratoga, he got off the barn, and trainer Bill Mott said that he came off the van like a tiger, that he was doing really well. So if he's doing really well, why not run in the Preakness? Why make the decision to not run in the Preakness before you saw how the horse is doing? And finally, I'm disappointed because I would love to see a journalism Sovereignty rivalry. They finished 1-2 in the Derby, and that rivalry could be something that could be beneficial to the sport moving forward.
Yeah, I think everyone just, I don't know if you could find anyone out there that would say, oh, okay, yes, all right, with Sovereignty not racing here in the Preakness. But we have to move on, and with that, we can at least look at Bob Baffert right now because he has had so much success there at the Preakness. He'll have goal-oriented on the rail, but it's a big step up in class. What do you think and make of Baffert's chances on Saturday to get it done?
Trainer Bob Baffert has won a record 8 Preakness Stakes, but many of those were actually horses that won the Kentucky Derby or at least ran in the Kentucky Derby. Goal-oriented is not one of those. Goal-oriented is a late blooming horse. He's been spectacular. He's 2 for 2 in his career. On the Derby undercard, he actually won a race. He held on, battled Hypnus at the very end, and outgamed Hypnus at the very end to win. This horse is super talented. There are big things in store for goal-oriented, but I'm not sure if the Preakness was something that was in the plans for this barn prior to Rodriguez going out. If you remember, Rodriguez is the other Baffert runner who won the Wood Memorial. He was entered in the Kentucky Derby but had to scratch because of a minor bruise, so they pointed him to the Preakness instead. Then Rodriguez was pulled out of the Preakness Stakes, and so you wonder, was goal-oriented, was this more like a plan B for goal-oriented to run in the Preakness Stakes? Listen, he's super talented. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win a big race down the road, but coming back after a 2-week rest in only his third career start is a big ask, even for trainer Bob Baffert.
Yeah, despite him topping that list with 8 of those wins. Hard things are hard things, but let's maybe make a move to something that could be easier here. A smaller field within the Derby with only 9 horses. I want the folks to be able to cash a big ticket. This is where you come in, Gene. Help us put together that Superfecta to come home with some moolah.
All right, the Superfecta. I got to say, first of all, that the takeout rate, basically the cut that the track takes for the Superfecta, is pretty penal. It's like 25.75%, which is higher than most tracks. So I will largely stay away from playing the Superfecta and the Trifecta in the Preakness Stakes. However, if you want to build a ticket, this is how I would build a ticket for this. The 2 horses that I like the most in the Preakness Stakes are Journalism, of course, the Kentucky Derby runner-up. He was the favorite in the Derby. All signs point to him doing well. I think he really is the class of the field. The big question is, how will he respond to coming back in just 2 weeks? The other horse I like is Clever Again. This is a speedball coming out of Oaklawn Park in Arkansas. He's won his last 2 races. He's fast. He's sharp. He drew perfectly in the number 8 hole on the outside, so he'll be able to monitor what's going on the inside. I think he's got a big chance, especially if Journalism doesn't fire after the 2 weeks rest. So this is how I'm going to build a Superfecta. As you can see here on the screen, we're going to play the 2 and the 8 and the 2 and the 8 in the first 2 slots. So one of those has to win, one of those has to finish second. And then in the bottom 2 spots, we're going to play Goal Oriented, who we just mentioned earlier, the Bob Baffert trainee. We're going to play a long shot, Heart of Honor, the UAE Derby runner-up. I realize that the winner of that race, Admire Daytona, finished last in the Kentucky Derby, but I'm not going to hold that against Heart of Honor, who has finished second in his last 3 races and is always there. And then the number 6, River Thames, who actually had enough points to run in the Kentucky Derby, but trainer Todd Pletcher decided to pass that race in order to point to the Preakness Stakes. I actually think that time off is going to do him really well. So we need one of those 3 horses to finish 3rd and 4th, as well as Journalism and Clever Again in the top 2 spots to hit the Superfecta.
I'm feeling good, Gene. I know you have the lucky jacket on today that you had for the Kentucky Derby, so folks at home know that Gene is on a heater and he knows exactly what he's talking about. Let's talk about a race that we do have today at Pimlico. On the card, we get Black Eyed Susan for the 3-year-old fillies. Who do you like in this one?
So this is a pretty wide open race. There are actually a lot more horses that can run, that can win the Black Eyed Susan than tomorrow's Preakness Stakes. This is basically the filly version of the Preakness. Runnin' and Gunnin' is the 5-2 morning line favorite. I don't see it. I don't see how she's going to be that low. I actually like her a little bit because she's a daughter of Gun Runner out of an Empire Maker mare. She's bred to like the distance, but she's only one really fast race, and that was her last race in the fantasy when she came in 3rd. My pick is going to be Reply. This is a lightly raced horse. She's only raced 2 times. She is coming off a 2nd place finish in her last start, but the reason why I like her is that she's a daughter of Curlin, and sons and daughters of Curlin are bred to get the distance. They're bred to improve over the course of time. I think she's only going to get better. I think she's going to only like the distance on Friday's card. My only concern with her is that there's not a whole lot of pace in this race, and she does her best running at the end. However, because there's not that much pace, maybe she's going to be closer to the front. She's going to have a tremendous late kick. So my pick is going to be Reply in the Black Eyed Susan Stakes.
Hey, I can rock with the name Reply because we all like to get that when you send out the text. So easy to remember for everyone at home in case you forget. We like Reply for today with the 3-year-old Susans. Gene Menez, thank you so much. Appreciate the time as always. And of course, as we look for the 2nd leg of that Triple Crown, unfortunately, we will not have a Triple Crown winner this year because Sovereignty, the winner of the Kentucky Derby, will not hit the post tomorrow at 6:50 Eastern, but that's still the 150th running of the Preakness will happen, and the Belmont Stakes will finish things up June 7th. We'll hopefully get to see Sovereignty back in action again then.